There's an interesting trend in the way Amazon interviews work, particularly for technical roles. And this is the main reason why I wanted to do this video today. Specifically, I found that the amount of technical screening has significantly improved over the past, let's say, couple of months. And I'm saying this in a context where, the traditional advice is that the Amazon on-site interview, at least, will be primarily behavioral. And actually, the main reason why this video was triggered was from a candidate who just told me they applied for a big data consultant in financials and in the US, and their on-site did not contain a single behavioral question. And I found this quite fascinating and actually on par with the trend that I've been observing for a while, but I wasn't really prepared to draw any conclusions to this. So a bit of background here. The Amazon interview was always supposed to be a behavioral one. They are very serious about their leadership principles, and oftentimes, in the job description themselves, they were stating that your CV got you here, so now it's about the behaviors. So some of the people working for Amazon went as far as to say that 80% of the interview, at least 80% will be behavioral, and only 20% would be technical, if at all. So I found this trend to be shifting today, and this is the example that I just presented you, that there was no trace of behavioral questions during that whole interview. I believe it's a clear sign that the Amazon interview is shifting more toward the technical part. But there's also another very interesting example I heard. He also applied for a pretty technical role, and he actually specifically asked his HR recruiter, hey, will I be having any technical people on my loop? And he was specifically, no, the loop will be about behavioral questions. And in fact, during the interview, he had 3 engineers on his loop. And his on-site was quite technical at the end of the day. And that was, primarily the first time I realized that, hey, there's a trend going on. Now, it's not the first time, that your recruiter going into an Amazon interview will give you information that's not very accurate. I believe that happens a lot, and I believe it's not such a good idea to ask for too many favors going into job interviews. But you should be aware of this transition of a more technical Amazon interview, in the detriment, of course, of the leadership principles. I'm not sure you know what Amazon's internal policies are, but I can tell you from experience that they were by far the most behaviorally focused company that I know. The second most behavioral company I know from these big tech companies was Facebook. But other than that, Google is very little focused on this, especially for technical roles. And Apple, I believe they're not at all interested in behavioral interviews for technical roles. So you should, in my opinion, take this advice seriously. And more on this, how can you further understand whether your interview will be technical? Take a very close look at your job description. I mean, for example, for this big data consultant in financials, I would have never said they won't ask you behavioral questions. If I had to coach this candidate, I would have told them, no, they will ask you behavioral questions. They will ask you a ton of behavioral questions, especially because it's a consulting role and it's in the financials. So you must speak well. However, if you look closer in the job description, there's an unusually low amount of content related to the leadership principles, whereas a normal job description would have an entire paragraph at least dedicated to this, to the leadership component and the behavioral part of the job interview. So there were, some subtle clues that you might also find in your own job description. I believe this should also serve you well. Now, of course, you should ask your point of contact, hey, should I expect technical questions or not? But again, understand that this information is not supposed to be perfect, and you're at the end of the day asking them for a favor here. So don't expect that information to be very accurate. But all in all, I believe there is a shift in how Amazon interviews work for technical roles in particular, and I believe they are becoming more and more technical, so I thought I'd share this advice with you.